Hi, welcome to Covenant Bible Fellowship's online study tonight. We're going to be diving into Matthew chapter 8. But before we do anything, of course, it is always important for us to go to the Lord in prayer. So let's do that real quickly. Lord, thank you so much for giving us your word, your truth in Scripture. Thank you for having given us the opportunity to look at it and to try to discern things from it. And thank you, Holy Spirit, for being with us to help us to discern things from your word. Just pray that you would open our eyes tonight and help us to learn what it is you have for us as we continue to move our way through Matthew. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. So if you are here, that's fantastic. We're going to be taking a look at the word. So if you have questions, put them over in the slide if you're not here during the live event. But if you are looking at this afterwards, please feel free to message us here at the Covenant Bible Fellowship Facebook page, and we will be happy to answer those questions that you have. All right, so if you have not already done so, this should not come as a surprise, but go ahead and flip to Matthew chapter 8, since that is where we're going to be looking today. Now, I have an app to talk about real quickly because I find it useful myself, and I think many of you, if you use smartphones, will probably find this app useful. I don't know that my camera's going to pick it up very well. Yeah, it doesn't. It kind of turns it into a blur. But the app is called Inductive Bible Study, and it doesn't really help you to be any more logical than anything else. But what it does do is it provides you an opportunity to take copious notes. It provides you with plenty of places to take those notes. It's like one of those old-timey note-taking Bibles, except for your phone. So it's pretty awesome. And it also includes your word studies. So you can actually click on whatever verse you like, and it opens up a word study tab, which, again, I'm not sure that you'll be able to see. Maybe I can turn down the brightness a little bit. Maybe you'll be able to see it a bit. But there we go. Okay, so I just clicked on a tab, and you can see that it gives the word study. So, like, for instance, I can say, when he came down the mountain, what does he mean by that? And it opens up with the Strongs of the mountain. You know, it gives cross-references down here at the bottom. And all of that is simply because of the, that's simply from the verse itself. I just clicked on the verse in the chapter. If I want to make notes, I can do it there. So it's really useful if you have an Android phone. I'm not sure that it's on the Apple Store. I'm going to check on that, but it's called Inductive Bible Study. It is free. So anyway, that's my infomercial at the beginning of this. It's very useful to people like me that like computer things. But in any case, if you're ready to take notes and you have Matthew chapter 8 open now that I've stalled for time for a second, Matthew chapter 8 is going to start us off with Christ coming down the mountain, right? We have just seen his sermon style, his teaching style. He's gone all the way from the build-up that is the Beatitudes to closing it out with people being astonished at the fact that he preaches with confidence, right, in what he's saying. He preaches with authority, and he does not preach like one of the scribes that preaches just with knowledge. And so we go to Matthew chapter 8, and it says, "Now, when he was come down from the mountain," once again, I am going through this in the Geneva, the 1599 Geneva. It's the one that I like. It has notes on there. I refer to them. So it's very useful. You can go through it in whichever translation you like, but I like the Geneva personally. So, "Now when he was come down from the mountain, great multitudes followed him, and lo, there came a leper, and worshipped him, saying, Master, if thou wilt, thou canst make me clean. And Jesus, putting forth his hand, touched him." Now, I'm going to stop right there. If you know anything about leprosy, you know that putting forth your hand and touching someone who is leprous is a terrifying prospect, right? If God said to you to put forth your hand and touch a cancer patient, you might be willing to do that, right? But someone with leprosy is known to be unclean. They're known to corrupt the things they touch. In fact, someone who's leprous living in a house could fill that house with leprosy, and then if you went into that leprous house, you might end up catching it, right? So these people are very unclean. You don't even want to walk on the same side of the street as they are. And this person comes to Christ and says, I know that you can make me clean. Can you help? And Jesus says, sure, come here, and puts his hand on it. You know, so that's huge. And what the Geneva says is Christ, in healing the lepers with the touching of his hand, shows that he abhors no sinners that come unto him, no matter how unclean they are. That's my interpretation. That's the Josh version of what he's saying. And truly it is that very simple truth that Christ loved everyone equally and that he had the absolute faith in the Father. I know that sounds silly to us today because we recognize Christ is divine. But when he's preaching to these folks in his own time, they didn't recognize him as being divine. They didn't recognize him yet as being God's son. All they saw was that this teacher who was just preaching to them was willing to reach out and touch a leper, and that it made the leper clean. So he says, I will, be thou clean, and immediately his leprosy was cleansed. In other words, he does not fear the leprosy. There's nothing that Jesus had to fear from leprosy. It was not something where he was hopeful that the man would be healed. He had absolute certainty that he had nothing to fear from leprosy. Then in verse 4 it says, Jesus said unto him, see that thou tell no man, but go and show thyself unto the priest, and offer the gift that Moses commanded for a witness to them. So he sends him on his way. And then in verse 5 it says, when Jesus was entered into Capernaum, there came unto him a centurion, beseeching him, and said, Master, my servant lieth sick at home of the palsy, and is grievously pained. Now, this man is not even a Jew, right? And he comes to Jesus. Now, Jesus is still being followed, remember, because we look back in verse 1, it says, now when he was come down from the mountain, great multitudes followed him. So Jesus is still being followed. There's still a large group of people watching here. And this person who's not even a Jew comes up to him. First, it was the physically unclean, the physically leprous man who came to Jesus, and Jesus was willing to reach out and touch him. He had nothing to fear from his leprosy. He knew that he could cleanse him of his uncleanness, right? And he proved that he had dominance, if you will, that he had control over that uncleanness by reaching out and touching the man. So now that the non-Jew is there, will Jesus do the same? Will he stoop himself, as it were, so low as to help someone who's not even a Jew? And he does. And he doesn't just do it. He does it in such a way that it, as Romans puts it, Romans chapter 11 puts it, that he provokes the Jewish people to jealousy, right? You remember how that is? If you can flip over to Romans chapter 11 says that he in verse 11 through I believe it is 24, he says, I'm speaking to you Gentiles, and that's verse 13. And as much as I am the apostle to the Gentiles, I magnify my ministry in the hope that I may provoke my own people to jealousy and save some of them. There's such an importance to his actions that he knows he's being a big red flag, if you will, to the Jews, because they're looking at his ministry and they're going, well, how come he's willing to do this for people that aren't even the children of God, right? So he's provoking them to jealousy in the things that he's doing. And we see here in Matthew chapter 8, that Christ does exactly that. In fact, the footnote in the Geneva says, Christ, by setting before them the example of the uncircumcised centurion, and yet of an excellent faith, provoketh the Jews to emulation, and together forewarneth them of their casting off and the calling of the Gentiles. So Jesus is being sort of this red flag that God is willing to accept anyone. Don't think you're so special, right? It's the same kind of thing as where he says that God is able to raise up to himself children of Abraham from rocks. You know, it's not all that important, you guys. We can, You need to step down a little off your high horse. So he says, when Jesus was entered into Capernaum, there came unto him a centurion, beseeching him, and said, Master, my servant lieth sick at home of the palsy, and is grievously pained. And Jesus said unto him, I will come and heal him. All right, so this statement of Jesus's is once again like saying, I will reach out my hand and touch you and you'll be healed. It's the same, essentially the same thing that he did with the leprous man. But we see that the centurion goes one step further, right? The centurion goes one step further and he says, whoa, wait a minute. I'm not even worthy that you should do that. I don't even want you to dirty your hands by reaching out. You know, he says, Master, I am not worthy that thou shouldest come under my roof, but speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed. And, you know, we were just this last Sunday, we were talking about death and life being in the power of the tongue, right? And the centurion understood this because the nature of reality is that power is authority. And I know that there's going to be a lot of teaching on the difference between dunamis power and exousia, but when you have power, you can tell someone to do something, and they do it, right? The authority power. And the physical power of this universe is subject to the authority power of God's will. So what the centurion is describing here, what he's expressing, is the fact that he understands the power structure. Everyone else may see him as just a teacher, but the centurion knows this is not just a teacher, right? He knows that this is a man with true authority. And so his response is, it makes sense. It's straightforward to someone who has the military mindset, to someone who recognizes the authority structure, and to someone who recognizes that Jesus stands at the top of that authority structure. He says, Master, I'm not worthy that thou shouldest come under my roof, but speak the word only, my servant should be healed. For I am a man also under the authority of another, and have soldiers under me. And I say to one, Go, and he goeth, and to another, Come, and he cometh, and to my servant, Do this, and he doeth it. When Jesus heard that, he marveled, and said to them that followed him, Verily I say unto you, I have not found so great understanding. No, it's not what he says. I've not found so great wisdom. Not what he says. He says, no, I have not found so great faith, even in Israel, right? He focuses in on the fact that the man had faith. Why? Because Jesus has already tried to express the fact that he is the Son of God. He's already shown several times the fact that he can make things happen, that he is one with authority, and yet his own people, the Jewish people, are still kind of, you know, I don't know, right? Like, he asks his own servants at one point, his own followers, who do you say that I am, right? Who do men say that I am? Who do you say that I am? The people don't want to recognize him as being the Son of God, but the centurion here is clearly making the claim that Jesus has spiritual authority, that he may be a man under authority, but he's way high up on the food chain, right? So he's showing faith by making this claim. He's stepping out in faith, and Jesus recognizes that. But his statement, Verily I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, even in Israel, is a direct provocation, if you will, for the Jewish people that are following him. Because remember, he's still being followed. He still has a large group of people following him from the mountain. So he's still being followed, and he says, you know, I have not found, just put it in your mind there, you've got however many thousand people following you, and this guy is talking to you, and a lot of people can hear it, and you know the ones that can't hear it are going to hear it eventually, right? It's going to be passed on, and you turn around to see the group of thousands of Jews, and you go, I have not found faith like you have, even in everyone here following me, or anybody else in this country, right? It's not quite a slap in the face, but it's definitely a pop on the rump, right? He's saying, you guys should probably straighten up and fly right. I wish that I could see in you what I see in this man, right? And he's not even a Jew. So he says, I've not found so great faith, even in Israel. But I say unto you that many shall come. And now when he says, but I say unto you, right? He's talking in the the general. He's not talking in the specific. He says, but I say unto you that many shall come from the east and from the west, and he shall sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. And the children of the kingdom shall be cast out into utter darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Now, he goes back and he's saying the same thing that he just said, kind of hidden. He's saying now very openly, which is what? He's saying you're going to lose your spot. You're going to lose your spot. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to come from all around the world, and it's not going to be you because you're going to lose your spot. The children of the kingdom will be cast out into utter darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Beware, you're going to lose your spot, right? Then Jesus said unto the centurion, go thy way, and as thou hast believed, so be it unto thee. And his servant was healed the same hour. So he doesn't just stop by making the claim. He goes on to follow through, right? He demonstrates that he is a man of power, of authority. And then it continues in verse 14. So when Jesus came to Peter's house, he saw his wife's mother laid down and sick of a fever. Now, you're going to find that this is the theme through the chapter, right? Things are bad, Jesus steps in, and things are good again, right? He fixes it all, which is kind of what he does. But that's what this chapter is all about. He's gotten through preaching. Now he's demonstrating the fact that he's coming again from a place of authority. He's not just speaking empty words. He's not sharing theories about what probably is or might be. He is talking from experience, from knowledge. He can operate out of a place of authority here. So verse 14, and when Jesus came to Peter's house, he saw his wife's mother laid down and sick of a fever, and he touched her hand, and the fever left her. So she arose and ministered unto them. When the even was come, they brought unto him many that were possessed with devils, and he cast out the spirits with his word and healed all that were sick. Okay, so now people are coming to him to have things healed. They're starting to move to a point of faith, right? They're bringing people to him. Hey, if he could do it for that guy, if he could do it for a centurion, he could certainly do it for me. I'm a Jew, right? I should come. I should be able to ask for help. So they're bringing people that are possessed with devils. They're bringing people who are sick, right? And it says that it might be fulfilled, which were spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, he took our infirmities and bare our sicknesses. So the key here is the end of verse 16. It doesn't say he healed most that were sick. It doesn't say he healed those who were sick that had the faith. It says that he healed all that were sick. And the note on that is, once again, of all sorts. Of all sorts. He healed all of them. He cast out all the devils, right? So we know that it's kind of silly, if you will, for us to lay the blame on the person we're praying for if the person doesn't get healed. You can't pray over a person and then be like, well, if you're not healed, it's because you don't have enough faith. You know, that's not scriptural. That's not scriptural. So he healed them all, right? Then verse 18, it says, and when Jesus saw great multitudes of people about him, he commanded them to go over the water. And once again, the great multitudes of people are who? The same people from before. They've been following him. In fact, he's probably changed a few of them out. A bunch of people probably went home and a bunch more people probably showed up. But it's still a great congregation that's been following him this whole time. And then if you're looking on a map, where he is in Capernaum, which is like right on the Lake of Tiberias. So if you're looking on a map, that's what you'd be looking for. Now there came a certain scribe and said unto him, Master, I will follow thee whithersoever thou goest. And Jesus' response is not a no. This is the thing. I have had the chance to learn what really is and what really isn't a no. When you live on commission, which sadly I kind of do right now. I mean, I get base pay, but I work in a salesman job, which is not that wonderful, and I definitely don't suggest anyone do it. But when you do, you learn the difference between a soft no and a hard no, right? A soft no is, maybe, maybe not, right? Are you really sure? I'm not positive this is the best thing for me. A hard no is, get out of my face, right? So you learn the difference between the two, and Jesus does not give a hard no here, right? He says, hey, I'll follow you. I'll be a follower. And Jesus says unto him, the foxes have holes, and the birds of the heaven have nests, but the Son of Man hath not whereon to rest his head. And then you don't hear any mention of this guy again. The scribe is gone. He just goes, oh, you're right, that does sound miserable. I guess I'm not going to follow you after all, right? And then in verse 21, it says, and another of his disciples said unto him, Master, suffer me first to go and bury my father. And Jesus said unto him, follow me, and let the dead bury the dead. So he's even warmer here. He even gives the invitation, follow me, and let the dead bury their dead. And again, it has no mention of that man again. So you have to wonder, you know, how devoted were they really, how straightforward were they really about these claims that they had. Then verse 23, it says, and when he was entered into the ship, his disciples followed him, and behold, there arose a great tempest in the sea, so that the ship was covered with waves, but he was asleep. Then his disciples came and awoke him, saying, Master, save us, we perish. And he said unto them, why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith? Then he arose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and so there was a great calm. And the men marveled, saying, what man is this, that both the winds and the sea obey him? So he's gone from healing leprosy, showing that he's not afraid of sickness, right? And then healing the other man's servant to show that distance doesn't limit him. And then he heals all that came unto him, showing that it's not a matter of him having enough juice to make it happen, right? He's clearly operating on behalf of God. He's acting on God's behalf. Finally, he even shows that the weather can't stop him. He can basically do whatever he wants, right? So that's the end of verse 27. They're now very awed as far as this is concerned. And so it ends on a very high note, which is verse 28 through 34. And when he was come to the other side into the country of the Gergesenes, there met him two possessed with devils, which came out of the graves, very fierce, so that no man might go by that way. And behold, they cried out, saying, Jesus, the Son of God, what have we to do with thee? Art thou come hither to torment us before the time? Now therefore there was afar off from them a great herd of swine feeding, and the devils besought him, saying, If thou cast us out, suffer us to go into the herd of swine. And he said unto them, Go. Now I love this section. You know why? Jesus does something really awesome. He casts out this terrible, terrible group of devils, right? Possessed with devils, it says. He casts out these two that are known for being horribly afflicted, and he does so with a single word. It reminds me of being a child and knowing that I'd done something wrong, and my mother giving me a look and going, and you go, you want me to clean this up, right? And she goes, do it, you know. She didn't have to express the whole thing. The devils knew what was coming. They were under authority. And it shows the fact that they're under authority. They're terrified, if you will, that Jesus is ready to go ahead and lay down the law now and not wait to the end. And so there's kind of this moment of you want me to, I mean, if we got to go, can you at least send us in there? He's like, go, you know. So it shows this absolute authority of his. And so they went out, departed into the herd of swine, and behold, the whole herd of swine ran headlong into the sea and died in the water. Then the herdmen fled. And when they were come into the city, they told all things and what was become of them that were possessed with the devils. And behold, all the city came out to meet Jesus. And when they saw him, they besought him to depart out of their coasts. All right, so that's the thing that strikes me the funniest, is that that they were more upset by the loss of the pigs, if you will, and scared by the fact that a man who had real power was coming into their area, than they were excited by the fact that they may be able to learn something or move forward. I think the way that the Geneva puts it is, where men live as swine, there doth not Christ tarry, but devils. We are afraid often of things that are new and scary, especially things that are that look promising, but at the same time would require us to sacrifice. We have a life built around not sacrificing. We don't want to sacrifice our time. We don't want to sacrifice our energy. We don't want to sacrifice our money, right? Everything is built around how can we save? How can we save time? How can we save energy? How can we save money? And it makes sense that we want to do that because we only have so much of our time. We only have so much energy to give. And so we're trying to govern it well. But when we when we take a look at God's plan for us, and God's plan says, okay, Josh, I want you to sacrifice an hour of your day every day and pray. All right, well, that's a big sacrifice. I'm not sure if I want that for my life. I'm sure I can do just fine with 20 minutes, right? We want to limit the amount of sacrifice that we have, and sometimes in doing so, we actually ask God and his blessings to move on. Jesus shows up in our life, and he wants to help us. He wants us to follow him. He wants us to be his disciples. He says, you know what? I have the perfect thing. I know where you need to be in life. I can get you there. I have the knowledge. I have the power. I have the authority. All you have to do is sacrifice this. And we see that he's getting ready to sacrifice something that's ours. We get scared, and we say, just like they did, please depart out of our coasts. Go away, Jesus. We don't want to sacrifice stuff, right? That's terrifying. That's terrifying. Jesus isn't going to show up with a big red flag saying, hi, I'm Jesus. I'm here. I'm here to fix all your problems, right? That's not the way this works. Christ is come into our life already, I hope. If he hasn't, then please message us. We'll talk to you about it. But Christ has come into our life already with the forgiveness of sins. He's come in blanketing us in his blood. And that is an amazing thing. But when he gives us the opportunity to change, when he gives us the opportunity to improve, we have the chance to sacrifice something temporal to gain something eternal. And when we throw that chance away, when we get upset about the fact that our pigs just ran off into the ocean and not happy about the fact that Jesus just cast out some devils, we ask God to leave. And he will. He will. So that's the gist of Matthew chapter 8. So now I'm going to go ahead and check in the comments, and let's see what kind of questions we have. All right, so hello, Judith. Let's see. Elder Vanessa says he warned the scribes of what to expect, just like he has us about his followers today should not be surprised by troubles. They lost property with no replacement. Must have been Gentiles. Okay, so you're right. They did lose property. And I believe that they were Gentiles. Yes. So the feeling, if you will, is one of he made us sacrifice something. He made us lose something, and that's kind of unsurprising that they asked him to leave. It's very similar to the men who got very upset later on when I believe it was Paul cast the demon out of that divining woman, and her masters got very upset about that. So we have a tendency to take a look more at the physical things than we do the spiritual, and we have a tendency not to really think things through when we feel like we are the ones losing on a bargain. So anyway, that is Matthew chapter 8. If you have any more questions for that, you can always message them to us. For now, we're going to go ahead and go to the Lord in prayer, and then we will go ahead and depart. Lord, thank you so much for exposing your scripture to us, showing us the truth, and helping us to see your plan in action, helping us to see your authority here, Lord. I just pray that you would help us to operate inside the authority you've given us, to give us the faith to be able to say that, Lord, I know you don't actually have to reach out and touch me for me to be healed. All you have to do is say the word. So I just pray that you would help us to operate in under such faith, and that we would continue to learn, and we would be willing to sacrifice the things you've called us to sacrifice in order to gain your presence in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Go with God.